Welcome back to Hack City. Joe DeLeone, Sean Anderson. In a week where we didn't think we were going to have much action in college football in week 9, so much occurred, especially what happened with Steve Sarkisian at the beginning of the day, especially what happened with Vanderbilt and Oklahoma losing to Ole Miss. So much to get to on today's show. Just want to remind everybody that today's episode is presented to you by FanDuel. I'm going to be taking Patriots -7 against the Browns tomorrow, one of my favorite bets. If you're going to be betting on the NFL, make sure you head on over to FanDuel. Sean, this whole Sark saga started and ended the perfect way possible. It got even more over the top and dramatic. If you missed it, you're living under a rock. Steve Sarkisian, it comes out this morning before the games kick off. Diana Rossini, who loves to put out incorrect information, comes out and says that Sarkisian's camp, assuming his agents at CAA, were expressing interest in him jumping to the NFL. CAA puts out a statement. This is all incredibly false. Texas, which we'll talk about the game, nearly loses to Mississippi State. So it clearly was some degree of a distraction for this Longhorns team after they win in overtime, which again, we're going to talk about the game in a second. He publicly says after the game, it really pisses me off that one person can make a report that the entire media sports world runs with is factual to the point where my agency has to put a statement out that they've never done. So this came full circle. And I'm not trying to be a dick about Diana Rossini. She has gotten a couple things wrong lately and keeps getting pointed out that she's been wrong about how she's handled things. But I wonder if Rossini's going to respond to this.
I hope so. I want it. Give it to me. Give me Sark going back to the media. This isn't something new that we haven't seen in football before. A report that a coach wants to leave, and then coach then debunks the report or states that my focus is here at said school.
Yeah, I don't mean to cut you off already, but I feel like this is very different than the typical I'm focused here. He said it pisses me off.
Yeah, Sark's getting into his Hardo era, which I think is suiting him decently. Not in the public light like that. That video of him shaking up the security guard pregame last year, that wasn't received that well.
2 years ago.
That was 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Well, I think he's still working into this era where he's trying to be a mean, ferocious leader that has an iron fist. How that's working out with Texas, I think, is still a work in. It's still an unfinished project. They're still pretty raw around the edges, but I'm not going to deny that Sark's an interesting coach and that he would be an interesting coach nomination in the NFL. But I think it would piss him off because I'm sitting here in Texas. These people are paying me nice. I'm living my dream job. I wouldn't want to leave Texas for a basement NFL franchise. There's not going to be an exciting job that opens up in the NFL this year. I don't think so. Why would I leave this? Why are you getting me in hot water? I'm doing good here in Texas. They like me.
Well, ironically,
they didn't like coaches forever. They didn't like quarterbacks here forever. Don't ruin this for me. I get the stress. And saying, don't do this, please. It's pissing me off.
Ironically, as you just said, the job that was mentioned in connection to him was the Titans job.
Yeah.
So it's real great opening there that's available. Oh, yeah, the Tennessee would make a lot of sense.
That's like coaching at ULM. I'm
seriously.
not doing that, all right? You see the bounty of gifts and just the that I have working with myself. I have every resource imaginable. I kind of got the whole college world around my thumb a little bit, even if we're not winning the Natty. Texas is still a big, major blue chip brand name program that isn't going anywhere. Even when they were bad, they weren't going anywhere, and everyone just wanted them to be back. And now they're back, and I have to see these reports coming out before I go and almost blow it to Mississippi State. Does nothing good for the program. So I like when coaches are honest. I think it's a double-edged sword, though, because we love the honesty as a principle, but sometimes when coaches are honest, you're like, oh God, this is why do you even feel the need to say this or justify it? I'm always going to lean on the coaches, though, if they're going to give us something real that cuts through. I feel like that's how we should default. Also, is whatever their statement is, let's run with that and not try to start jumping around on non-direct source narratives.
Well, here's the thing. This obviously has been happening over the past couple of weeks with a lot of openings, and you get the press conference or the media availability with the coach, and the first question from a reporter is like, what is the interest for the Florida job? What is the interest for the Penn State job? What does that mean for you? And a lot of times these coaches dance around it.
Yeah.
They'll talk about like, oh, it's unsubstantiated. Eli Drinkwitz is one of the few that have like really gone aggressive about it. And even with all that stuff, I always think like, let's see what pans out here. No one's very, very direct. I think more coaches should do what Sark did today, where he said, it pisses me off. Because if he left after saying that and he goes to the NFL, he's going to look really damn dumb. This is not the Nick Saban, I have no interest in going to Alabama.
Yeah.
This is none of that stuff. That was a denial, but it wasn't really necessarily a denial because he ended up leaving. But to say it pisses me off would require some sort of an apology to Rossini in the future. I think he's actually pissed off, and I think that he is, as you said, he's in his Hardo era, and his Hardo era is what's made him a great coach.
It's also, I get it comes with the territory. I think it's fair to be pissed off if you're in that territory, but coaches should expect to be asked these questions when big jobs open up. I actually don't think it's unfair.
Well, he wasn't even asked about it. It was projected upon him.
This is a situation though where it's so uniquely sports. Like imagine you're a dad, family of two, you got a wife, and then there's some interest from an outside party that's creeping up. And then somebody's asking you about it. You're going to get defensive and hell and be pissed off. Like, why were you following me at the coffee shop with that woman? You know, why is that getting brought up to me? I got a family here. No matter what the intentions are, the proposition of you might not be in this same situation is always going to put somebody on the defensive. Keep it up though. Maybe eventually someone breaks and they're like, yeah, maybe I am a little interested. Sue me.
All I'm saying, though, is you never get an issued statement from an agent saying that this is fake. Because notice how that doesn't happen with – it hasn't happened with Drinkwitz. It hasn't happened with Rhett Lashley. It hasn't happened with any of these guys that have been, like placed for some of these openings by people. It hasn't even happened with Lane Kiffin.
Right.
Because it is currently a negotiation battle. But something like this, you had to put out the statement because clearly it did – bother Sark. It clearly did bother the agents, but we'll see what happens. I don't think that this is going to turn into anything, but I just liked the drama that was sorted by it. Texas did end up winning very narrowly in overtime. They were down, storm back, 17-point deficit that they were facing. A punt return touchdown from Ryan Niblett, who is very dynamic athlete, has done some great things, some great kick returns for this team this year. Texas still just looks super duper shaky. We don't need to spend a ton of time talking about this game because I feel like our perception of this Texas team, credit to Arch for throwing for 46, having 46 passing attempts and throwing for over 300 yards and having some nice plays in that game. And then credit to Matt Caldwell coming in, one play dot to the side of the end zone, connects with his dude, and then he ends the game that way. Good job finishing for Texas, but it's still plays to this perception that they're very off this year.
It's good to get as many wins as you can. This is I can't believe Mississippi State did that loss where, I mean, I'm just going to empathize with these losses where it's team that's pretty much historically bad versus a powerhouse, obviously the Atlanta, New England connection that I have. I'm always going to feel a type of way for the loser in that blows and botches that lead because it's a heart. This rips your heart out of your chest. This is one of those losses for fans in Starkville that are walking around like, I don't know how I'm doing Monday. I don't want to watch ball tomorrow. I don't want to watch Monday Night Football. I don't want to do anything. I just got gutted on a Saturday. But where does this put Texas? I guess
same spot.
Same spot. I have no.
They're not a real threat.
Right.
They're probably gonna lose another game.
I guess it's all good if. Right now, I think my assessment of it is if Arch is on the field and he's getting reps and he is starting to put some stuff together, that's about all I can ask for. The season is what it is right now.
By the way, it is absolutely pouring in this Wisconsin-Oregon game, and they keep showing Fickle. And Lanning looks like he's trying to blink through the rain, and then Fickle looks like the most miserable person that I've ever seen on a sideline. That's saying something. We're watching Mike Elko at the same exact time as that game is on. Alabama finished off South Carolina after it looked like South Carolina was, I didn't use the word I wrote down in the doc, cock. That was the word in the doc. 29-22. This was a real nerve-wracking game, but it was one of those games where you felt Alabama was in reach and was going to find a way to surge back. This also was one of those games coming into the week. It was easy to circle as the scare game where it didn't end up being the upset, but Lenore Sellers was going to have a bunch of big plays and he was going to evade some pressure, and he was going to have a nice big run that put points on the board and all that. Like everything was going to go in the direction of South Carolina, but Ty Simpson, Jeremy Bernard were going to connect the way that they did on their 25-yard touchdown that won them the game, plus the fumble that they were able to pull off. Here is a crazy stat, though, with this. Alabama won its first game over an unranked SEC opponent on the road under Kalen DeBoer. That is insane that it took him this long to do that. So didn't fall for the trap. Good for DeBoer. I like DeBoer. I'm glad that he got over the hump.
This game was, for me, it felt like the full reset game for DeBoer, where the group chat texts start flooding in, the exasperated, oh, I guess it's Ohio State, Alabama this year, like every year, where the Alabama has built up enough of a resume this season where the assumption is that they will be going against Ohio State in the national championship.
You also smoking cigars? Your throat's just as
I'm
bad
all
as
over
mine.
the place. You know, I've been running on fumes. Short week here. The Alabama, I guess, rise. It makes the early season college football narrative look so goofy, and I always feel goofy when we are like at week 8 or 9, and these teams that we thought were really bad end up being fine, and vice versa. So right now, it's just living in the present with Alabama, and Alabama is still good in the present, and a team that I wouldn't bet against, and I wouldn't want to play right now. I wouldn't. I would go out there, give my best, try to get some good stuff on tape, but you're probably not coming out with a win, which is a return, I'd say, to it's getting close to the expectation of games under Saban.
I was ready to say some really reckless things about the SEC if Alabama lost this game, by the way. I was fully ready on here. I was fully ready on Twitter. I was going to record a video for Sports Geek talking about how the SEC is the Big 12 this year. Nobody's good. None of these teams are a legit threat. But Alabama is the threat.
That's a video I'd click on.
But Alabama is the real threat. If Alabama lost, it completely F's up the whole – Alabama can't lose because the SEC's best case to win a national title and to go on a playoff run and to be a top 4 team, it all rides on Alabama because every other team has an issue. Ole Miss has a shit run defense. Georgia has no pass rush. Vanderbilt has a bad secondary. Missouri just lost their quarterback. Texas A&M, as we're in the middle of recording this, we'll hear the full reaction at the end of the show as we'll tape that at the end. They're kind of keeping things a little dicey here with LSU, so who knows what the narrative is around there. There's just so many issues for these teams. And speaking of issues for these teams, Oklahoma, the propaganda for Oklahoma was the biggest bunch of bullshit at the beginning of the year. I got duped. I backed this damn Oklahoma team going into this week on every betting spot that I did, every guest appearance that I did. I said, this is my favorite bet of the week. Oklahoma's going to cover. Ole Miss is in the bottom dumpster. In EPA per rush allowed, they're not stopping shit. And Oklahoma and Blaylock had a good game last week running the football, and they were going to do it again, and Mateer was going to look better. But you know what happened? Mateer can't hit anything. His touch, his accuracy is gone. It's out the window. He clearly, I don't know what happened with the thumb, but it has gone so far backward. I'm not blaming him.
The thumb's not right.
I blame the dumb shit at halftime when Blaylock had 4 carries at halftime. When you have a quarterback who has accuracy issues. Ben Arbuckle, you are the most overrated offensive coordinator in the sport. I'm so sick of this shit. Seriously, this is all plays into the propaganda. It was the whole month of September. Oh, Oklahoma's better than everybody thought that they were. John Mateer's a Heisman candidate. He's going to be a first rounder.
He was playing well.
All of that is gone. Gone, Sean. I'm done with Oklahoma.
Their
defense isn't even good. Their defense was overrated. The best offense they played was Michigan, and they looked good against Michigan, and that was it. We let that sell us 34 points. Shit.
Does Oklahoma have a path here? Tennessee, Alabama, Missouri, LSU. Do they have a path?
No.
Okay.
No. Say it again one more time.
Tennessee, Alabama, Missouri, LSU.
Okay.
They're losing to Alabama, right?
They're losing to Alabama. You said Missouri's one. They're going to beat Missouri because Zoller's sadly, that's like on a platter for Venables to go up against a freshman quarterback. But no, I would argue that if LSU plays as good as they're playing right now against Texas A&M, there's a possibility they can knock off Oklahoma?
Oh, I'd rather see personally. I'd rather see Oklahoma than LSU. Just on the disappointment factor. I think Ole Miss is a fine team in this one. I think they're fine. I don't know. This is the most likable Ole Miss team I think I've watched. This is the most unlikable version of Lane Kiffin that I've seen at Ole Miss so far. He is like walking around like he got away with murder. Like he's walking around like the most confident, not like football confident, but just like how he's handling interviews, how he's handling media, that he knows that he's the belle of the ball. And this is the dangerous Lane Kiffin, where at any week he could take a week off because he just gets swept up in the Lane stuff instead of being locked in on the game stuff. And I just know it's coming. I thought it was going to hit today. I thought it was going to be, Lane was taking interviews or Lane was doing this or that. They got away with one. This felt like the typical Ole Miss knife in the back, knife in the side end of the season game. They're still tracking. I guess they're still tracking. It's fine. I'm not believing in Ole Miss until I see them win a CFP game, because I'd say it's fair to assume they're going to the CFP.
Well, so this is the big problem with all this. By the way, I agree with your assertion about has this weird energy. There was the whole thing after the game where David Stone clearly was just trying to come up to him, the Oklahoma defensive lineman, just going up to him and trying to dap him up and say, all right, good game. And he says to him while he's doing an interview, he goes, "You're a lot quieter now than you were before," which is total dickhead energy to say to a 19-year-old.
Yeah.
But that was one of the things. But this is the complicated part with it. The portal opens up on January 2nd. The college football playoff starts on December 19th. If they theoretically went and they won a game, he would need to be being interviewed during that process. I would think that Florida would want to be making a decision, or if LSU opened up, they would want to be making a decision around that time. It depends on how badly they want Kiffin. They can't get caught in a situation where Kiffin tells him he's interested and says he'll get back to him and then decides he wants to stay. And then they're going to be they're going to have last choice out of all the best coaches.
Imagine that power rush, knowing that every school with an opening wants you, and then you're just walking around at your own whim, at the flick of a finger. You could change the destiny of multiple programs and thousands, millions of people, millions of fans, and I don't think Kiffin can avoid that with himself. I think that with the way that he's built, the way that he coaches and how he operates, he gets swept up in the press clippings. I know they're not called press clippings, but I'm not going to say he's out here reading tweets or bad Instagram college football accounts. I think that I think he's definitely staying plugged in on what people are saying about Lane. Whereas on the opposite, I mean, Sark, I think, is making statements when it's brought to him. I don't think he's getting down.
Right.
He's not getting trenchy with it. Lane is in the trenches, in the mix with it. He knows what everyone's saying about Lane, which is not good. That's not what you want your head coach doing, because you want them preaching what a head coach does preach. Hey, just focus on your own stuff. Get better day by day. Hit the weight room. Study the playbook. Watch some film. And everything else will fall into line. Lane plays into that too much for me.
Yeah, and there was the whole performative layer of this, how it was like a headline that Lane Kiffin spoke to his team. Or no, it was before he even spoke to him. Lane Kiffin plans to speak to his team about the Florida opening. It's like, okay. I'm like, was that something that we needed to be? That was an agent tweet. That was an agent, like, hey, can you put this out there that Lane is planning to speak to the team? I bet that was like a 2-minute conversation. That feels like did you see the post? Shohei swung for the fences on this one today, and someone's like, so we're posting swinging strikes now. Like, is that what it's come to? He struck out. Oh, yeah, so he did his job, is what you're telling me. He spoke to his team and assured them that we need to stay focused. God, I feel like I've never seen a coach do that one before. I want to remind you guys, though, that our shows are presented by FanDuel. It's also presented by our good friends over at Delete Me. Delete Me makes it quick, easy, and safe to remove your personal data at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everyone vulnerable. Data brokers making profit off of your data. Your data is a commodity, and anybody on the web can buy your private details. This can lead to identity theft, phishing attempts, and harassment, but now you can protect your privacy with Delete Me. The New York Times Wirecutter has named Delete Me their top pick for data removal services. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Now today's special discount for our listeners. Get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go join deleteme.com/pro. Use promo code PRO at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go join deleteme.com/pro. Enter code PRO at checkout. It's deleteme.com/pro, code PRO. What happened to you doing the reads? Why did
You want me to start reading it up again?
Yeah,
I'll read.
That'd be nice.
All right, I can start redoing some reading.
So I can dig in my butt while you're doing that.
Come on, they might give it. They might wait an extra 5 to hear the odds and ends.
So maybe we should redact. You can bleep that.
Nah, I'm like. I mean, it's the best thing to do.
What did he say? Someone's just sitting there listening. Goes, yeah, we're gonna get yelled at for that one. You might need to bleep. You might need to bleep that.
Fine.
I'm gonna get a Cam Rogers text message. Joe, we'd really appreciate it if you didn't reference.
Are you guys digging in your butts during the show?
What does that mean? Missouri, what does this mean? Missouri lost to Vanderbilt 17-10. Dude, I don't care if this makes me a hater or not. Vanderbilt has a lot of luck going their way. I'm just going to keep it at that. I said this in a thread with a Mr. Ryan Roberts who was being very mean and was being very combative in these conversations that we were having. They are so reminiscent of the TCU team a couple of years ago that got to a national championship. And what I mean by that, there aren't direct parallels, but the parallels that could be made are a lot of things go their way that allow for them to win games that enables their resume to look really good. Played South Carolina, could have been a challenging opponent. Luke Doty plays most of the game because Lenore Sellers goes out. You play an LSU team that doesn't have an offense. It's an easy win for you because it's a bad matchup for LSU. Good win, good job, but it launches you into the top 10, which is crazy. And then in this game, Prebula wasn't playing great, but they had to return to their true freshman quarterback, Matt Zollers. And my argument with Ryan was that, well, Zollers made some good plays and did some nice things and actually helped put points on the board. He had a crucial mistake where he fumbled a handoff exchange that set up a short field for Vanderbilt to score, and effectively that won them the football game. And he also had a really bad intentional grounding call on the 2-minute drill. I find it hard to believe, and I'm not going to say that I would believe that Zollers would have ran a better 2-minute drill than Prebula did. All I'm saying is that it's awfully advantageous that things keep going Vanderbilt's way. If that makes me a hater, I really don't give a shit.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to make you a hater. I think what I'm going to say is going to make this is going to be the hating statement. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of Vanderbilt's story. I'm tired of Diego Pavia. The longer it goes on, the more I think uncomfortable with the situation I become. I know that sounds soft, but like I'm thinking ahead about the conversations I'll be having in like 20 years about, hey, remember when players were suing the NCAA because they went from the G5 to the P4 and they wanted another year of eligibility and it wasn't all figured out? So they just sued the NCAA to get an extra year, which wasn't, we were past COVID too. Well, was there a gray shirt? No, he just sued him and he got to play. That's putting a weird feeling on this season for me.
I know this
with Pavia.
Okay,
like,
sorry, I'm cutting you off.
It's bad. It doesn't feel good. The means not justifying the ends for me right now.
Tremendous underdog story, which it is. You know, they're not supposed to be good. They're not supposed to be a team that is in the national spotlight to get to the college football playoff and all these things. But yeah, there's an awful big advantage of the quarterback who's been playing college football for a really long time and who's one of the oldest players in the sport. I don't know.
Who's the OK State quarterback that you were tearing into last year?
Bowman.
Yeah,
Alan Bowman.
Yeah, but didn't he do it like not in this way at least? Like he at least was like injured a year.
Yeah,
or something.
He had the COVID eligibility and all that crap.
Different situation.
He was never good.
This is like suing the school board because they had peanuts in a side and your kid has a sensitivity to them. Dude, just get on with it. It doesn't feel like I'm operating in real life. And I know college sports is so far away from like reality and how other businesses and entities operate, but give me a little bit of reality, just a smidge. All right. I know we're yelling at reporters. We got coaches going everywhere. They're talking trash to players and it's a weird environment, but I'm tired of lawsuits and I'm tired of having like the big bat or the big boss not be anything.
Kurt Sigmanetti, 56-6 win over UCLA. How's no one done that, by the way? 56-6 win over UCLA. Under Signetti, Indiana has outscored. What the hell did I write down? I got this off of Reddit, and I'm realizing the moron who wrote it, I copied and pasted it. The moron who wrote it does not have a grip on how to put sentences together. It's supposed to say that they have now outscored opponents 686 to 225. Their two losses were to number one, Ohio State, and then to Notre Dame, where in those games they were outscored 65 to 32. So they continue to pile on with these ridiculous outcomes. For anyone, and you almost fell for the trap of thinking, oh, here comes UCLA. They're
a little hot.
I like Tim Skipper, and I think that he should be the next head coach, and they were a little bit hot, but no, they were not ready for the buzzsaw.
I had a little actually, I was ready to do it, and then one of the little angels popped up on my shoulder and said, hey, let's not do this here. Let's just hold off and see what happens. Chauncey doesn't. You want me?
Terry Rozier?
Yeah. Oh no, Terry's on the other shoulder. Take it, man. Go ahead. You can get it done. This was a beating, and UCLA was a team that I was starting to get a little excited about. I just do. I thought that they had looked sharp, and a team that has looked sharp that puts up 6 points and gets 56 hung on their head lets you know who the big dog is. It lets you know that the sleeping bear that you thought that is just sitting in Indiana that you're never going to have to really worry about. No, well, you poked him a little. He got up and he just mauled you. And that's what they're going to do. They're going to dismantle. This is good. Give me a team that dismantles the mediocre and the semi-good and that can show up against the best. I think last year there was a lot of victory lapping about them not showing up against the best and having games where it's like, oh, well, this is a fraudulent. All these wins, these regular season wins don't matter. If you keep doing this, the regular season wins do matter. If you keep on putting up 50-plus points on everybody's heads, that narrative will go away. And then it's just they're a great team, and they just have to start playing it a little better against the other great teams in college football.
Man, this is going to be interesting to talk about this LSU game when this ends. Last thing I want to get to before we hit the break, and we're going to wrap with talking about the poses of the people in this LSU game. We just watched the KC Concepcion punt return touchdown, and again, we're going to talk about this game at the very end. Kansas State, Kansas was really funny. Per Cal Carmody on Twitter, Kansas State completely worked Kansas. By the way, apparently Kansas had a meeting. This is the full quote from Carmody. Apparently, Kansas had a meeting with Chris Kleiman this week about a potential field storming pending a Jayhawks win. After the game, when they completely bodied the shit out of them, Taylor Portier, one of the offensive linemen on K-State, said the only rushing the fans did was to their cars because it was raining. This is just some old school. I didn't watch this game very closely because it was in the beginning slate. Then I was watching the Oklahoma Ole Miss game on, and I had in the top right corner, but I kept looking over. I'm like, damn, they're still scoring. You can't. Is this a thing? Is this a mechanism that you have to say, hey, the field might get stormed after this game?
Well, we've seen
lame.
Well, this year we kind of saw like the most violent field storming of all time with the UVA one, and I feel like that's a situation where I would broach that subject with my team, like on a Monday meeting or a Sunday meeting, early in the week. Just say, hey, fellas, if this ever happens, this is what we do. We're going to move on. We're not going to assume that we're going to have a field storm situation ever. We shouldn't do that. Why would we do some bulletin board material that's trying on the Super Bowl T-shirts at halftime? You don't do that in football because the football gods will not reward that. They reward honesty. They reward 60 minutes of play, and they reward the better team that day. If you are going in with the preconceived notion that you're going to have a field storming, you guys got to get ready. You know what you're going to be doing all game? You're going to be waiting for a field storming, looking over your shoulders, missing plays, and making errors. So I like it. I like the trash talk. Keep the rivalry strong. Good for Taylor Portier. It's a good line. Quick thinking also.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to recap the LSU Texas A&M game. Texas A&M just scored again, right as I was about to say what the score was. It's now 49-18. Elko laid it on thick. And one of the things that was talked about a lot in the broadcast was how Texas A&M was locked in throughout the entirety of it. They were not letting up one bit. They were focused on every single play, even when they built a gigantic lead. And inversely, you had a team that seemingly gave up very quickly at the start of the second half. And it shows. This is the biggest thing, and I tweeted this. If your team does not give effort on special teams, that is the immediate indictment that your team is done. You're not bought in. Special teams requires doing the little things, the non-glamorous side of the sport where you're not going to get recognition for being out there covering a punt or blocking in the punt shield, covering a kickoff. And they kept giving up huge punt return gains to Texas A&M throughout the whole game. Brian Kelly's done, man. I don't know where they go from here. I don't know if the firing is going to happen. I don't know if it will be a encouraged retirement. I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, that feels a little hasty. It's tough going into College Station and playing at Texas A&M at night, and then it's at LSU. Oh, God, that's not great. You don't want to be Death Valley getting itted on like this. This is a domination. This was Texas A&M, I think, answering the calls to the fraud 3 ranking, the undefeated. What are they really going to do?
Oh my God, the stadium's empty and there's 6 minutes to go.
I'm telling you, they got invaded tonight also by Texas A&M fans.
Yeah.
The LSU program is not in a healthy spot because this is supposed to be, we're hosting you in this environment where you're not going to be able to function. It's going to be so loud, you can't get a call in. It's going to be messy on your side. We know how to thrive in it. Complete opposite. LSU looked like they were in the boat without a paddle. Texas A&M just stuck with their game plan. They had a lot of tribulations in the first half. They had the blocked punt,
multiple turnovers. It looked like there was a shot. It really looked like there was a shot that Texas A&M could blow it because what you were just talking about, the environment was kind of getting to them.
Yeah, crazy turnovers. I was obviously a little panicked about Marcel Reed because he was getting balls batted at the line. And he just answers. Texas A&M just answered. That's what a legit program does. If there was any uncertainty, come out of halftime, and if you come back out locked in, and there's then the other team just isn't. LSU wasn't. LSU would look like they were tired coming back out in the half.
Here's the craziest part about this: Brian Kelly gets hired from Notre Dame, and from the LSU fan perspective, it was deemed a slam dunk. This is our next Nick Saban. We're taking somebody from the Midwest to come lead the program. He didn't have success at Notre Dame because he needed more resources, all of those things. It was considered to be a slam dunk, no-brainer. LSU, at the very least, was going to be in the top conversation of college football. They now are going to have 3 losses, and it's not even November. Mike Elko, on the other side, former assistant of Brian Kelly. When he was hired by Texas A&M, nationally, it was clowned on. It was clowned on by the Texas A&M fan base. It was considered to be an underwhelming hire to bring in Mike Elko. I felt like I was in the minority after he was taken away from Duke. I was one of the biggest advocates for it. I said, have you guys been paying attention?
How could you not be?
Right.
It was Duke.
He turned Duke into a menacing, hard-hitting defensive team. That wasn't supposed to happen at Duke.
It kind of feels like Brian Kelly was like the lifetime politician that knew how to play the games. It was at the top. It was
Cuomo.
Hanging around, a little Cuomo-ish. Like, I'm hanging around the top. Everyone knows me, and you kind of know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Give me a guy that's rebuilding at the bottom, low grassroots. Give me a Signetti that goes and works down and builds these programs into relevancy. It's important. I mean, because at a program like Texas A&M that has the money, they have the recruiting capabilities, they have interest from players in going there that are top players in the nation, and you're not getting over the hump, that means you definitely need a culture change. You need somebody that can actually take a program from a good level to a great level. Mm-hmm. Who knows how to do that better than a coach that takes a program from the basement to relevancy?
Well, the problem is when you have fan bases of the Alabamas and the LSUs, they hold themselves, and the same applies for Notre Dame and for Michigan, Ohio State, they hold themselves in the highest regard where they don't think like that. They don't think we want a coach who is a program builder. We want the guy who's the shiny recruiter who has already had established long-term success, whether it had been at the NFL level, whether it had been at another top program that was maybe just a slight rung below in a similar conference or in the same conference. So this is the trap that you have set up for yourself. I don't know what direction they go to. I would think very strongly of hiring John Summerall. This is the most important part about this, and this is not going to apply for LSU fans. I would strongly consider hiring someone who's not one of the biggest names. I think that you fell for the trap earlier, and it did you in. And I don't think you should do it again.
It's also it's be tough. It's be a tough.
The last
sell.
coaches were all big schools. Oklahoma State was Les Miles. Edo was a part of that staff, and then BK was from Notre Dame.
I think that is a fan base that acknowledges status and they acknowledge optics.
Yes, this is my point.
I don't know if you can pull them away from that because they like to keep up with the Joneses. They consider themselves to be the Joneses. They're not. They're trying to keep up, and I think they want to maintain that status and that presence. So the SEC is just as much about that as it is the football on the field when it comes to discourse and like the respect you're going to get within the conferences. Also, how do you look? Do we like your coach? Do we fear your coach? Do we respect your coach? What do we think of your program, your fans? All of that gets considered in the discourse, which is, I think, a frustrating part for the unbiased fans like myself, where it's like, I don't care about that. Let me see what you're doing on the field. And the on-field work, inferior this season and has been subpar and lacking with just overhype, oversell. I know I'm going to pray for a hard reset, I think, in the college media this offseason. I know it's going to get worse and it's going to get crazier and more hectic and more WWE, but I'd like for all of us to take something from this season and be like, could we learn something about what we are saying about teams that have some uncertainty? Will we? No, I don't think so.
I'm getting really distracted looking up old LSU coaches. Obviously, Saban was the same descriptor. He was hired from Michigan State, another top relevant name. Who was it? Jerry DiNardo was hired from Vanderbilt. I found Biff Jones, who's got a crazy build. He's just got he's kind of got the Sean Anderson build.
Oh, what is
going on?
Fat with a donkey ass? Is that what he's got? Oh, he's built bad. That's tough. It's tough being built bad. Here's the thing. It's tough being built bad and then seeing someone else, some other dude that's walking around with a gigantic ass, and you're like, oh, I've seen that before. I know what that guy's doing. I saw that walk into work the other day.
No.
This joker is about 6 feet tall, probably 240 pounds.
I just texted you, by the way.
Mondo ass. I'm like, yeah, I feel you, brother.
The Sean Anderson build.
Oh, come on, dog. You know what's tough is the crotchal region pinching up in the front of the shorts.
Hey, man, Biff looks like a ball coach, dude.
Oh,
Biff looks like a ball coach. He was 87, 33, and 15.
Oh, I'd take a coach named Biff happily. Coach named Biff, you shoot to the top of the interview board, I think. Because I got to know what Biff's about. I don't need a John or a Steve.
I need a Biff.
Or a Tyler. I need a Biff.
What happened to Biff? Why did Biff why was it removed from name circulation?
Well,
can we get a Biff Anderson? Can you commit?
You think it would be a Bifford P. Anderson?
Why Bifford?
I'm not calling it.
P. Why would you give him a P middle name?
Maybe I'd go with a D. Bifford D. Anderson. I like that. I'm not calling
Bifford B. Anderson.
I mean, that's like asking someone to call their kid Chip. I know a Chip. I have a Chip in my life that I love, but I'm not going. You're not going by Chip.
Biff's way cooler than Chip. Chip's worn out. There's no good Biffs these days.
Here's the thing. I think you could
find me a good Biff. You could be a trailblazer.
You could be a good Biff up until about 17 years old, and then I think from ages 18 to 50, you're kind of in a bad spot.
Wait, was Biff
50-year-old Biff? You're back in the spotlight.
Oh damn! Biff was his nickname. Lawrence. How do you get Biff from Lawrence? I don't know.
I wouldn't go for Biff if I had a Lawrence.
I mean, maybe Biff had a different meaning in the 1930s. All right, sports over. Do whatever you want.